moving materials in and out of the cell. The cell membrane is selectively permeable, which means that some materials can pass through it and some cannot. Oxygen, food, waste products, and water are substances that can pass through the cell membrane. Materials move in and out of a cell by diffusion, osmosis, or active transport. Diffusion. Diffusion is the process of molecules moving from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. Molecules diffuse through a cell membrane into a cell when there is a higher concentration of the molecules outside the cell than inside the cell. Some examples of diffusion are dissolving ice, sugar, salt crystals in water to form a uniform solution, the spreading of the odor of a scent, and the spreading of the odor of a scent to nearby areas. Diffusion does not require energy. Here's a picture of diffusion where a person is putting some dye in some water, and the dye is red and the water is blue. And so this is a very high concentration of dye here, and so it's going to spread out. And as it spreads out, it's going to spread out towards the low concentration and will continue to do so until the substance has completely diffused evenly. So there's an even number of dye amongst the water, and that's called equilibrium. Osmosis. Osmosis is the diffusion of water molecules through a selectively permeable membrane. So diffusion is more than just water molecules. Osmosis is only water molecules through a selectively permeable membrane. Cells have selectively permeable membranes, which means that some materials can pass through and some can't. In osmosis, water moves by diffusion through the cell membrane to an area of low water concentration. Water moves out of the cell if there is more water inside the cell than outside the cell. Cells shrink when water moves out. Water moves into the cell if there is more water outside the cell. Cells swell or get larger when water moves in. So here's osmosis. These are a high concentration of water outside of the cell. This is the cell membrane, which is semi-permeable or selectively permeable. And there's a low concentration inside the cell. So the water is going to move from outside the cell to inside the cell until there's an equilibrium and the cell has the same amount inside as it does out. So you can kind of see that here. There might be some salt inside a cell with water, some kind of solution, and there might be pure water outside the cell. So then the cell would move, the cell membrane is here, and the pure water would travel through the membrane to make a concentration that was higher of water here, because you see there are less molecules here than they are here. So the water moves from a high concentration to a lower concentration.